Namoringeyo. 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 I hear someone, but I can't see you yet. Hold on. I'll be right back. This is Sharon, Reverend Sharon. At least that's what they call me sometimes. Okay, what I am doing is behind the scenes. Okay, there we go. And I'm already getting my responses. One second. This is there she is. Hello, Sherry. How are you?
Back from the vortex.
Back from the vortex. Okay, love. Hold on just a second.
Sure.
Hi. Anyone else having all this energy with the computers? Or is it just me and my electromagnetic energy or personality or something like that?
Mm. Oh,
Okay.
oh.
Ah, just, whoa. Just 1 second. This is incredible. Alrighty. There we go. Okay. And I'm making sure that the group has the link because I don't have everyone's phone number. And we're 4 minutes in. And so you're back from the vortex.
Yes. Oh my God. Amazing energy. Amazing.
I'm sure.
Yeah. As soon as you get there to that city, it's just you feel it. It's just
Mm.
amazing group of people. That area. Oh. Then I drive back here, and it was like I stepped from 5D back into the 3D.
Yes, I'm afraid you did.
Yeah, I did. Sure.
Oh, I know. Don't you hate that feeling sometimes?
Yes.
Ah,
I told my husband,
oh,
why don't you hurry up and retire and let's move over there?
oh, I'm still going to get there. It's just that the timing wasn't right now. But
Yeah.
I see
Amazing group
myself.
of ladies.
Amazing group. I would like to
Go ahead.
meet the editor of the in 5D. That was the gentleman that I believe he's the one that reviewed the article that I submitted, I believe, and I can't remember his name right now. Uh, but he seemed to be very, 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 whoa. As you said, the energy there is powerful.
It's very, and not, I mean, there's like not one person over there that raised their voice, cut you off in traffic. It was just so peaceful. And um, they have a labyrinth over there that I was fortunate enough to be by myself, so I walked it. Um, they have 3 peace poles over there. Beautiful. It's just, oh, so tranquil. We were having like a picnic lunch next to this little like stream. We were
Hmm.
doing an exercise where we had to like merge with nature, and we did a lot of writing, so there was like prompts, and then we would go out in nature and meditate and write. It was just so nice. It was just peaceful. I couldn't have had a better time. I
Wow.
missed you.
Aw, thank you
I
so
was
much.
thinking about you, but the whole time I was like, she would. And then did you get my email about that? The guy with the didgeridoo.
I think I did. I'm trying to remember.
Telling you that the universe brought that guy there. He was playing, and I said, "Can I sit and listen to you?" He goes, "Sure." So, anyways, long story short, he blows it into my heart chakra, and I got to tell you, this woman had 3 giant rooms full of stones from all over. Like I've never seen a collection like that. Probably over
Wow.
20 years. And she does these healing sessions. So they went in the back. He was showing me how to play the bowl, and he blew this didgeridoo into my heart chakra. I got to tell you, I was buzzing for like 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
That I said, God, I wish I was close to you guys.
Oh,
But we just had an amazing talk. It was really, really cool.
I would love to see a didgeridoo up close. I have, but not recently. It's been a while. But I know that that's amazing energy that goes through there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm double checking everything. So far, we're the only one that's on, and that's okay. I don't know if you had an opportunity to speak to Robert before now. He's doing. Let me make sure that I have the correct name. You know that he went to Bled, right? In the Czech
Went to
Republic.
where?
Bled in the Czech Republic.
No, I didn't know. I thought him and
He
this
and
is a
Michelle.
different trip from the one him and Michelle.
No, it's the same one. They went to Bled,
Oh,
and he studied the vital life force energy. And so he's
okay. Okay.
doing sessions with people since he's come back. I had
Oh,
my third one. I had a third one today, but I'm going to try and get back there tomorrow to get another one. He's doing them in series of 4, and the energy is amazing, absolutely amazing. And this is going to be a turning point, not just for the area, I'm sure, but also for globally. There's you and I both know about the shifts. Well, we all know about the shifts. Anybody that doesn't know about the shifts
yeah.
of the energy and the ley lines and so on and so forth, it's simply because they're focusing on something else. That's all. And so as this turn of events comes around, uh, with as far as the planet is concerned, I see that this is going to be something that's essential to assisting us in getting to that point where no, we won't need any tools anymore. That's one of my key focuses, to eventually not ever need tools. I talk about them, I write about them, but the point of doing that is to get people to realize that we really don't need them. You can identify them, they're great steps on the ladder, getting to where you're going, but the the agenda, at least my agenda, is to not need them eventually. And that it's like a baby that's learning to walk. Of course, when they first start out, they're going to grab onto things like the sofa and the chairs and the table, maybe knock down a few trinkets like I did.
Uh-huh.
My mom had to make the house childproof. I remember that. But once they get the hang of it, the gist of walking, before you know it, you don't need to hold on to anything. You just walk. And so I see that as humanity's next step upward, being able to just walk. And I think that this is going to be it's a tool also, but I think that it's one of those tools that's also going to assist us in just walking. And so,
I'm just gonna say I just wanted to
go
say
ahead.
something really quick because we're right on the same wavelength. Like we're thinking the same. what I went through today, I had a light activation, and I'm convinced that I'm doing crystalline grid work. On the call or the urge to travel to certain locations, and she said when the call comes and you're going to these sites there to do grid work, and she said exactly that. I used to do all the same things, she said, with all the symbols and the crystals and doing it, and she said the same thing. When you're at a certain vibration, you're there and your body is carrying the light, so you're doing the work by just being there. And it was interesting because somebody else asked, well, how come all this stuff happens after I was just at that place? And she said, you were there at that time, the energy, because there's a shift, there's a moving. It's going to grow one time. Why is it always like I go someplace and then 2 weeks later some major event would happen? That it wasn't by chance. I was meant to go there at that time. But she was basically saying the same thing. You get to a point, you don't need all of that stuff. No.
I had put myself on mute for a second because I was hydrating, but I can honestly say that from the time I first started recognizing that, oh, maybe there is something a little different about me. I'm not using the same number of tools that I used to. I've streamed them down. And sometimes you do need to go back and forth once in a while, just to remind yourself. But to me, the most important part is to not continually make a need for the tools. Kind of like sharing or spreading the energy from one focal point to the next, so that this is going to sound silly. Actually, the whole world is a Hogwarts. If you're familiar with the Harry Potter, the entire planet is a Hogwarts. Yeah. And so, for lessons, for school, you start out in first grade. You're not going to be put in the 5th or 6th grade class until you get through all of those in between. And then when you get there, you look back and you're like, gee, was I even that size at one time? But yeah, you were. But now you're in the middle now. And so you're still not a senior, and you've got to reach that point. And of course, once you get to be a senior, you look back and, gee, dweebs, look at the dweebs. And so, but no, that's probably not very nice. I'm not calling the human race dweebs, but I'm trying to make a point. You don't ordinarily put all grades in the same classroom at the same time, because you've got those that are coming up and those that are somewhere in between and those that are ready to graduate from high school or college or whatever. And so you pace the information to that extent that they're familiar with, not to say that anybody is smarter than anybody else or more advanced, etc., etc. But a lot of us have different programming, it's different constructs that, and they haven't really kept us back. Oh, hello. Good evening, my dear.
Hello, beautiful souls. How are you?
Marvelous, absolutely fabulous. And so, Sherry, you remember Reverend Sharon Renee. This is Reverend Sharon Renee. I'm Reverend Sharon Elizabeth. So, so yes.
Get it right.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
You? I see you're wearing the same outfit that I have on. See this, people, this is why I don't want to go live, because I can run around and nobody knows what I got on. I can just, like, I'm sitting, I can be in my pajamas As the minute I go live, all of my story will be on screen. I don't know. Anyway, it's not about me. What we're discussing right now is, and we're waiting for everybody else to
Tools.
join in. Uh,
Mhm.
just that not everyone is at the same place. In school, we have staff, we have teachers, and we have students. And we've got students at different grades. So as we pass on or share the information that we're getting about the shift and regeneration, and et cetera, not everybody's going to be on the same page with what we say. Some people are going to be, uh, well, maybe in first grade, and some may be in sixth grade, and then some may be juniors, getting ready to be seniors. And then, of course, we've got the people that are sharing the information, like us. We're sharing the information. And so this is my point, for what it's worth, is that we have to bring things along so that people can digest it as they begin to awaken and become aware. And that's where tools come in. And so that's why I talk about tools and I write about tools, because they do have importance. I'm finished.
Isn't that kind of what in Wingmakers though, isn't that kind of what James was getting at when he said that like you just said, a long time ago, as like shamans and different ones, they use those things, but you get to the point that after he talks about the living through the heart,
Hmm.
he kind of downplayed the ceremonial stuff. Nice, like you said, like remember we were talking about the drum circle and all, and he said, yeah, I did that. Oh, I think like you said, as you progress in different stages, different thing, which I'm noticing with me, different things resonate. What
Hmm.
didn't to maybe interested me 2 or 3. I don't know if that's an energetic shift or feel.
Uh, okay. Well, we're all going through an energetic shift. We're all going through a
Right.
shift period. And so, that's, oh my goodness. And I think we've got Mercury and retrograde coming up soon. And so
Mhm.
that's going to bring in more shifts in energy. And
Mhm.
so it's not a coincidence that this information is being made available, and what Robert is doing is being made available. And some of us are a little nervous about that, and some of us are more familiar with what's going on. And so those are going to be like the seers and the shaman and etc. That, in my opinion, they're here to help guide the ones that are a bit nervous or concerned to
Mhm.
the next level of understanding. And then there's some that don't want to get to the next level of understanding. Reverend Sharon, you had something to say?
No, no, no. I'm listening and agreeing and watching. I mean, listening to what you're saying also. And just to add to that, what you're saying, even us light workers, even though you have people that are not awakened to what we're saying right now, but you have us light workers that have something specific to say to different people. You get what I'm saying? We have something specific to say, and only, like you have your way of teaching and your style or what have you, and I have my way. Sherry may have her way if she talks to different people, what have you, meaning we all have something different to say. So, meaning, regardless of the ones that are not, you know, ready to hear it, it's about us going forward anyway.
Well, definitely one should not stop sharing whatever intel is coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know if people pay attention to the fact that with all of the religions that are in existence, each one has a particular miracle that occurred that caused them to come into being. Uh, and if you think about it, now, if God is supposed to be so exclusive or so focused on one particular group, where and why are all these other miracles taking place? Why is it that everyone is experiencing something? There must be more to it than that. And so, for the person that recognizes that it's about the different constructs that we've been raised with. We've got, my goodness, Catholic, Protestant, Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, Charismatic, Evangelistic.
Seven Day
Do I need to go
Jehovah
on?
Witness. No.
The and so, but every single one of them has an instance or a case where something of a miraculous nature has taken place. And if you examine it, really fine tune it, you'll see where at a certain point in the history of humanity, each religion was important to assist a particular group historically or spiritually to the next level. So it's not, you know, I used to make fun of religion, but that's why God went ahead and made me a minister. I'm gonna make her quiet. I'm gonna get her into being a minister that she see what's going on. Um, but it's like Reverend Sharon was saying. Uh, we come. They say that the Yeshua said, I came for. I didn't come for your people. I came for this particular group. Buddha said basically the same thing. I came for the Hindu. And so
It was
you'll
just to
find.
find out about human suffering. Yeah.
Hmm. So but it's all a part of the process of getting us back home. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are a couple of people that are going to be late. Um, we'll just do right now an overall blessing for everyone and anyone who may be trying to rush. Please don't rush to get to this. Please don't. Don't rush to go anywhere. Take your time, relax, and breathe. So this is a time to lower the eyelids. If you're able to be in a sitting position or if you're lying down, whoever is going to hear this and the people that are listening now, their families, relatives, ancestors, we give this invocation for the entire planet. It is an invocation of protection for the four corners. It's an invocation of protection from the archangels of light that are said to surround each and every individual as well as the four corners of this planet or matrix, however you'd like to refer to it. I am going to say it in Aramaic because I like Aramaic, and it is the language that the master, Yeshua, and he never called himself a master, uh, is known for having to resonate. Bishem Adonai, Mimini Mikael, Misimoli Gabriel, Umili Fanai Uriel, Ume Afarai Raphael, Baal Roshi Shekinat El. And briefly, what this is saying, and I hope that you are still breathing in, holding, releasing, and letting go. This is saying specifically, thank you, Archangel Michael to the right of me, Gabriel, Gabriel to the left of me, Uriel before me, Raphael behind me, and the eternal Shekinah above my crown. And that's the English translation. Taking in another deep breath, holding for the count of 3, releasing through parted lips. As always, we inhale through the nostrils. And as we inhale, we focus. We focus on the light within ourselves. We focus on our ability as we are a hollow bone filled with the essence of light. And we direct that light to all of those who share with us this moment in time. For it is not I, but the Christ consciousness, the consciousness of the one within us that works through us in sharing the energy of the one heart. And breathe. And release and let go. And very quickly, I'm going to, I don't know, Sharon, do you have I'm going to send you the link for the When, Which, How practice book for the event temples for the Laricus book.
For what?
The Laricus?
Oh, no,
It
you
is,
didn't send me the.
okay. Please remind me to send you the link because you can get the book online.
Okay.
Just download it. I owe to my friend Nelia, who isn't on yet. Sherry, do you have the book? Sherry?
Yeah,
Oh,
the workbook.
yes. Okay. If you go to page 13 in the back, we're talking about. Okay. We're talking about the references. And I honed in on that because it makes a reference to the definition of some of the terms that are used in the lessons of the book itself. If you have that page, the energetic heart is something that, well, we know about the 6 virtues. We know about how, as Reverend Sharon says, one love. I love it when she says one love. But the one love is where everything comes from. This is the truth of our existence, our essence is the love, and it comes through the heart. Everybody says 6 virtues, I always say 7, but that's because the 7th virtue is the one that generates the other 6, and that is love. So if you would read for a moment, page 13, the references, it's near the end. It is the rising heart. That page that is just before
Hold
the
on.
rising heart.
I have
Oh, see, I got you. You didn't know I was going to ask you to read. Oh, gosh. Sherry, you still there? Or are you
You're ready.
skipping school? You're
Be ready to
skipping
go.
school?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
7.
oh.
Mhm.
Yes, because basically this is a format to help sort of connect the wing makers uh, information with the premise of the Laricus
Sorry,
order.
I thought you were just asking me a general question if I had it.
Oh, okay. Ah, I see. Okay.
Page 13.
page 13. That's the page just before the rising heart.
Now we must have different books then.
No, you don't
What did you
have
say?
it?
13?
Page
Six
13.
heart virtues on 15.
13?
Okay.
Was it 13?
Okay, the rising heart. And it says page 13 in my book.
I got it in a different, okay. Energetic heart. Okay.
You've got it?
The references. Yeah, the event strings and animus, all that. Uh-huh.
Right. Okay. Well, I tell you what. So why don't you start with the event strings and we'll leave the energetic heart for the last.
Okay.
Okay?
Event strings are engineered experiences, usually by multiple sets of consciousness, to create conditions that are favorable to the expansion of awareness. Work is teaching order to orchestrate individuals to awaken to a new concept, or to cross paths with a particular teacher or teaching event. Event strings are catalysts to connect individuals with new concepts, transfers that regrid an obsolete mental model. They are most commonly used to shift awareness within the initiated light workers, who are the vanguard of human destiny.
Okay, now if we stop there for a moment, event strings, basically, this is a concept where we're talking about shifts and different frequencies of energy that take place and fluctuate and go through. And the closer we are to being uh, established as light workers, and we've got people that are just awakening to their energy, and then we've got people that have been working for a while. And so this is basically, and the Lyricus order is much more than just groups meeting. It is something that's been initiated. There isn't, when I say an order, there is like for instance, software that's been passed down for humanity, this particular species of humanity, to become aware of the fact that we are sovereign integrals. And so these events that take place whenever there's a group meeting, really, we can call upon that as an event stream. So if you will continue with the animus, please.
Okay, the animus is depicted in the Wingmakers materials, are a synthetic extraterrestrial race that desire to become soul carriers. They lack the biology and sensorial system to house the subtle frequencies of a soul. Near their race's future genetics with the help of human genetics. Superior mental capacity, they have become aligned to the economic powers on Earth as advisors and technology enablers.
Okay. And I don't think I really need to go into detail on that unless you have a question.
I'm sorry, technology enablers. What is that? What does that mean? That part.
Technology enablers. Well, uh, you will have, well, you have seen, a lot of us have seen people that appear to have more information about technology than others. And so they're here to consciously assist us in being able to
Whatever goal.
break down that energy, get into an understanding of that energy. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So in essence, no, we're not alone. We got groups that are watching and working for us, and groups that are watching and not working for us.
This one
I
says
say,
that they've become aligned to the economic powers.
I'm sorry, Sharon. What did you say?
They've become aligned to the economic powers on Earth. I tend that to take that as the negative.
Mm. Sharon, you had
Um,
something you were saying?
yeah, because the economic powers that be, deep state, whatever you want to call it, aren't they more? I'm assuming they're aligned with the financial power.
Mm. But there are on
And
both sides, though. There are on both. They are on both sides. Um,
And I would think that they both have a lot of technology, the advanced technology on both sides, good and bad. But the ones that tend to work with, I guess, military, what confuses me sometimes is if they have their hands on such advanced technology, then why the constant back and forth? Over with. But I tend to think that to be something there that's blocking all of it from coming forward. I know there's always like the good and bad struggle, but it seems like technology is being withheld a little bit, I should say, because they're not quite sure what the intention of the people that receive it are doing,
mm.
are going to do with it.
Oh,
and I,
that's an excellent point. Sharon was going to say something. Good evening,
you know,
Vaughn.
'cause- mhm.
Hello. What were you going to say, Sharon?
No, because all of a sudden, for me, looking at another aspect of it, saying like, you know, the technology part of it, meaning we have various, say, spiritual guides that assist and what have you. Like, say, for instance, for me, when I'm ready to create in a place of, like, say, with a school or whatever, I have, I'll call on on Pythagoras. Let's just go there. And meaning with the, so meaning you have like keepers that are most likely on the other side of that, trying to assist in bringing through or helping us with the various technology or what have you, you know I mean, the other side of the coin versus, Sherry said, she took it from the other stance, meaning.
Well, that would be part of the purpose of the order of the Lyricus group. They have presented, according to James Mayhew, there are teachers that are on the planet now that
Mm,
are establishing or have established uh, different schools. Well, you can't call them schools since this is a premise or a level of an order adapt adaptation. So they are in place. There is an awareness. One cannot say that it's all good and it's all bad, because it is neither. And truthfully, whether it is all good or all bad at this point is really not the problem. It's not the issue point. The point is that as we are awakening and we can see that there is a general awakening taking place with the shift of people being aware of the fact that, well, hey, there must be more to this dimension, this matrix, than what's going on. Hopefully, people will start picking up on their own, uh, using their own initiative. Easy to say, easy to say, for that people would pick up on their own initiative and just go forward and say, "Hey, I'm a sovereign, integral, etc., etc." This is why things, not things, but groups meeting at least once every other week or once a week to be in the company of people that they can bounce these ideas from, become more aware from. This is one of the reasons why I support the Lyricus group. It's because it gives an opportunity for you to bring out that energetic heart and just become more aware of what your purpose is. Sherry, if you would, energetic heart, please.
Okay. of space, there exists a primary field of vibration or quantum primacy. It's non-physical, but informs the physical. It exists independent of the physical structures of existence and is known among Lyricist teachers as the underivative information structures.
Oh, I like that.
UISs are subquantum and represent the primary blueprint for living systems and inorganic matter. It is UIS that gives rise to the quantum fields that interpenetrate planets, stars, galaxies, and the universe at large. It is the communication field of life, the local and the local, the individual and the collective, the one and the infinite. The energetic heart is the non-physical component. It is the entryway or portal from UIS to the intuitive and intelligent centers of the soul carrier or human instrument. In a sense, it is the subquantum blueprint of the physical heart.
Now that, in its essence, really, that is amazing. If I may ask, is there any questions? As if I know all the answers, which I don't.
No, ma'am.
No. If you
No.
no, okay. Vaughn, if you're listening and you're near your book, would you be kind enough to turn to page 14 for us and just recite, well, read the human instrument is a part of the references that's towards the end. If you can hear me. Hello? Okay. He may have us on mute. I'm not sure. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Well, maybe I'll read that one. 1 second. Okay. Yes, I think I'll read that one. Human instrument. The human instrument consists of 3 principal components: the biological, physical body, the emotional, and the mental. These 3 distinct tools and systems of intelligence and perception in aggregate represent the vehicle of the individuated spirit as it interacts with the physical dimension of time, space, energy, and matter. In Lyricist terms, the human instrument is referred to as the soul carrier, and the soul consciousness within it is activating the sensorial system of the soul carrier to enhance the soul's influence within the physical world. No, it makes me smile. The soul carrier, that is what you are, ladies and gentlemen. The physical being that you have when you look in the mirror, in other words, those beautiful eyes and lips, etc. It's a part of your soul carrier. And within it is the essence, the kernel of the universe. This is, whoa. To me, this is information that is beyond the esoteric, because we refer to everything for the moment in 3-dimensional. Our essence, however, is far beyond that. And this is why, another reason why I support the Lyricist group, because we need to have as much support in remembering that we are not just 3rd-dimensional. We are so much more. So much more. Okay. Um, I'm going to just give, I don't want to read all the references this evening because it's after 9. It's 9:16. I had promised 9:30 as the ending time.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and I'm not going to keep anyone beyond those limitations. Um, Sherry, if you would do the heart independent sensory organ, and this is what I was saying before about how the heart is actually the virtue that manifests all other things, the compassion and the essence of who we are. If you would, Sherry.
Okay, the heart starts to form in the body of the fetus before the brain. It is also autogenic, meaning that it beats independent of a signal from the brain.
Okay. And if you go on to just finish up with the heart electromagnetic field.
The electromagnetic field of the heart is approximately 50 times stronger than the brain, and it radiates as an electromagnetic field about 15 feet beyond the body. This electric field is constantly shape shifting, undulating, yet exceptionally stable in its energetic field. Its organic presence is palpable and vivid to those whose sensorial system is tuned to the heart's inmost frequency.
Okay. So what we're talking about uh, in this particular instance is our auras. At
Mhm.
some cultures and some of the philosophies have labeled it as our auric field.
Mm.
We are made up of an electromagnetic energy source, and people who've listened to me before know that I always talk about how even if you're asleep, well, especially if you're meditating, but even if you're asleep, your heart gives off enough electricity to light a 200-watt light bulb. We are, I mean, we are fantastically and magnificently made. We are currents of energy that are in frequent waves. These frequencies are vibrating at rapid rates. In particular, this time of the year, and we've seen what October does for our electromagnetic fields, and then you're going to continue to see that throughout November, December. It is a wave of flux of energy from which we are and connected and can continue to connect and create and manifest higher realms of energy. This is something that takes, well, for some people, it takes a bit of understanding because it's not something that's taught as a part of our as a as a part of our programming. Our programming gives us a deity or deities, and we follow that. Our programming uh, says we either go to church or synagogue, or and we follow that, and we don't really think beyond that point. But that point is much greater than we realize. Question one, two, three. No questions?
Mhm. So far, so good.
No statements? Okay. All right. Okay. Uh, I don't believe
Well,
that. Oh,
I do I
go
have a
ahead.
question? No, no, no. I don't
Yes.
know, but I was just, I guess maybe having a aha moment,
Hmm.
because of how far or how far our auric field stretches. I've always been told that too, and kind of knowing, the seven. It's like 7 feet in front, all around, up, down, and around. Correct,
Well, it
or more?
depends. It
Depending on
depends.
the
It
more you
really depends.
meditate.
The more you met, exactly. I was
Right.
about to say that.
Mhm.
Uh, it can start at 15 feet.
Mhm.
I have seen auric fields that were larger.
Mhm.
Uh, for instance, John of God,
Mhm.
uh, when he enters the room, well, before he enters the room, you know that he is within the vicinity. His auric field
Right.
is so enormous that it travels into the room before he gets there. It's like you can sense when he's coming.
Yeah, Mother
Uh,
Mirror, Mother Mirror, meaning when
yes,
when you go to Darshan and you're going, as you're approaching the actual township, as where she is, you start to feel her auric, uh, her energy as you're approaching. So yeah, no, I get that now.
yeah.
And
Did you meet Mother Mira? I met her a couple of years ago.
no, actually, but we've had studies as it pertains to Mother Mira, and there's like a healing meditation sanctuary set up at Delphi
Ah,
that has everything Mother Mira, and there are different meditations held there in in front of her image, so to speak. So yeah, no, that's my connection.
no, no. I met her. I guess it's 4, maybe 5 years ago.
Hmm.
Very interesting experience.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Even yeah, you just based on the sanctuary that we were in with a picture of her, and that within itself was amazing. So just
Yes.
imagine her in person.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm not sure if she's done any tours this year, but what she was doing at the time was touring the United States, and in her tour, she was simply staring into people's eyes.
Right.
And so, yeah, and so I had the opportunity to be one of the people that uh, I think she did 300 people a day.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so
You bow down and
yeah, I was in the morning shift, right? And she has an intense, uh,
look.
oh, not just the look, the auric
Yeah.
feel, as he said,
Yeah.
uh, and the anticipation, of course.
Hmm.
That helps to see. That's one of the things that takes place with the human construct. Uh, we anticipate certain activities.
Hmm.
We make it so. We make it happen from our anticipation. We our expectation that, oh, this is going to be either a good thing or a bad thing. And so, whoa, that and in recalling the experience, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay,
Um,
yes, dear.
yeah. This is a little bit off topic, but I wanted to ask you about the Mandela effect.
Ah, Nelson
I
Mandela.
understand. Yeah. Is it when you are like you're in different dimensions or something, like you see something and then it turns right around and it's presented in a different way? Like, I've had this happen recently. Something, and let's say a tree, it's not there. It's not there. And I'll look back, a couple minutes later and it's there. Or when I was over in Sarasota, I was driving and I drove by this thing probably 2 or 3 times. I never saw that building. On the way back, I go, where did that come from? Is that the same thing or is it something different?
That's an interesting question. From what I'm aware of, uh, Mandela effect took place because there are some people who believe that we have shifted. When he initially died, uh, it is said that there was a shift in the timelines, and that we're off course, meaning humanity, as far as the timeline is concerned. His death was reported twice, which to me could also mean that the reporters got it wrong twice. I mean, it depends on how you perceive it, but obviously there is different levels of energy that are moving things into different. And you're right. This is really off. This is really off topic.
I know, I'm sorry. It's just that I'm trying to have that.
No. Don't apologize. Oh, please don't.
Yeah, and it confuses me a little bit.
Yeah, well, at the risk of sounding like myself, I have seen things appear and disappear. I have not attributed them to the Mandela effect, though. But even if the Mandela effect is accurate, which I don't know. I'm still out on that theory just a wee bit. But even if it's accurate, to me, that's confirmation that things are shifting faster than we think they are. So in other words, there isn't anything that I have heard that actually makes me fearful of. Oh, there's a lot of theories. There's timelines are blending or have blended, and on and on and on. I have a friend in Australia. God bless him. He seems to feel that it is his duty in life to inform me every time the world is supposed to come to an end. He has informed me 6 times this year. And so and my immediate response is, well, if it is, well, then it is. Um, I'm not going to. I'm not one of those panic people that's going to, the sky is falling. But as far as the Mandela, uh, I don't know. It's obvious that something else is going on as far as time shifts and timelines are concerned. But again, I have not seen anything, in my opinion, that really proves that it's all the Mandela effect.
Okay, fair enough.
I get the feeling, Sherry, that wasn't the answer you were looking for.
No, I've just seen it more recently, and I didn't know what to attribute it to.
Mm-hmm.
But it is like kind of, takes some getting used to when things shift so fast that, it's like something's there one minute and it's not the next. And it's just something that's, been going on recently. If it's, some timeline shift, like you said, or like I just didn't know how to explain it. Not that I need to. We're supposed to just trust and allow the process, no matter how, weird it gets. It's all good. So I just was asking because that was just the term that I heard thrown around, and I wasn't really sure what it meant. So that's why I was asking if that's it. But
No. I appreciate it. I've heard it quite often myself. I usually just it just makes me more cognitive, I think, just to think about it. But it's like I said, it could be that maybe the reporters got the stories wrong, and it's based on his actual death is said to have taken place in late 1990s, I think, like 98, and then he was reported to have died again in, I think, the early 2000s, something like 2005 or something like that. And I'm curious as to who's keeping track and why of when he passes. But there are people who claim that this resonates with a time shift that took place, and they're in another that we are in another time line, and that is how our current president became president, because our timeline shifted. And my phone, and I don't know what I did with it. I am not sold one way or the other at this point. So for me, that would take a little more research before I could say definitely, I believe that it's uh, oh, the Mandela effect or not. Um, one second. Okay, and I'm getting okay. Somebody's trying to get into the studio, but they can't seem to get in on the link. Okay, I understand. Oh, alrighty, and they have a question. Okay, and I don't know what their question is. Tell me what your question is, or type it in so that I can ask it. Okay, this is Nelia. Nelia, type in your question either on the chat or send me a text because I'm sure it's a good question. Um, but again, studying the wing makers, we're aware that the wing makers are supposed to be from our future, right? So this, yes. So this would give credence to a certain amount of shifting in the timeline. If you're following the theory of the wing makers, and then you're following the theory that's set forth as a part of the Lyricus group order, or sorry, that was grammatically awful. If you're following the order itself and you believe in what you're saying and reading and dealing with, then yes, there are shifts in time, and there could well be a shift that took place when Nelson Mandela passed, and that we're experiencing a different timeline because of that. And all of that makes no difference because we are, well, it makes little difference. We are aware. You here, I'm here. We are assimilating, another word. We are trying to discern the information that we have at hand. So, how much difference does that make as far as whether or not the timeline has changed? Obviously, there's much more going on.
As I listen to this part of the conversation,
Hello.
hello, and I listen to what Sherry is describing, I'm getting a slightly different take on it, and I want to share it with everyone if it comes to any resonance of truth. I think what Sherry's experiencing is something that's a little bit more personal than what's happening in the macro environment. But at the same time, I think it's also very much related to what's happening in the macro environment. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with the microcosm and work all the way up to the macrocosm. If we understand, as I heard in the reading earlier, in terms of the construct of the being, the human instrument that becomes infused with that soul or that eternal divine spect of energy. I think in the process of a life journey, process of awakening, process of the consciousness opening up and allowing the falsities of the construct of the misinformation, miseducation, socialization, all of these things that is a part of the early formative years of our cognitive construct. I think what we find happening is as we're walking this path and that process of, it is a shift, but it's essentially the breaking down of frameworks and concepts and constructs. that really are no longer serving us and no longer really relevant to the underlying truth of existence. And a part of that, I think, speaks to some of the other conversations and information that we have looked at, and that is in regards to, you know, what is the mind and what is reality relative to the holographic universe. And so then if we begin to look at it from this perspective, even if we look at it from a very personal perspective, we look at our own life's journey and our own spiritual paths and the different experiences and whatnot that has led us to this point, we will find that there's many instances that we can refer to where something that we thought existed and was so real we end up in the realization that you know, reality is a very subjective construct, that it is not at all eternal, that it is subject to a number of an exponential number of factors which all converge into the here and now, into our experience of the now. And so as those factors change, as we deepen our understanding of our own being, mind, body, and soul, and as a result of that, we begin to gain a better understanding and a deeper understanding of the construct of the macrocosm, as in understanding that the microcosm is replicated a number of times to create the macrocosm. I think that these are some of the experiences that we tend to have. The conscious or the subconscious mind, our entire worldview, our entire, you know, what we see, what we can relate to, what is real, what is not, what is possible, what's not possible. All of this is through education. All of this is through the life experience. All of this is through the process of the mind, body, and soul being informed over time through space. So as we're walking that path, and as we are, you know, uncovering and discovering deeper aspects to ourselves and how these aspects of the self actually end up creating the illusion that we think is us, and even more so importantly, the experiences that we are afforded, that we want to blame everything and everyone else until we come to the realization of just how responsible we are for this process. So that's what it kind of sounds like to me. Sounds like, you know, it sounds like the, for want of a better word, the peeling back of the veil. It's one thing to have that conversation or to be aware of it at an intellectual level, but how does this really resonate with you on a practical, mundane level? How do you bring that information from that higher frequency of resonance and be able to relate it down here at these grosser levels of resonance where we have the world of matter, right? So that is what I'm thinking is, you know, and it reminds me of the story of when Columbus or the Europeans came to the New World. The Native Americans were not actually able to see the ships underwater. And the reason is not that the ships weren't there. It's not that the ships were not real. It's not that the ships did not exist in the very moment when they are looking upon the surface of the water and not seeing the ships. But because they had no construct within the subconscious mind of this thing even being there. I think the story goes that it was the spiritual leader or the shaman who was the first person to see it by first realizing there was some level of distortion on the surface of the water, and through more of a meditative gaze and stare, then this physical form of these ships began to come into focus, and the men getting off and so forth and so on. Now, again, I wasn't there, so I can't say if this is a fact or if this is fiction or if it's a story or what it is. But again, you know, we can only work with what we have to work with, and that is a part of the construct of life and information that we're working with, you know. So that's kind of what I'm getting from that experience. I think it's something that's more personal, and I think it's something that's going to be more revealing to you, Sherry, in your own journey and the work that you're doing right now.
Okay,
So-
thank you, Ron.
Question.
I have to tell you, before you opened your started saying that higher self or whatever, I was just going to ask you, as a matter of fact, that was. So I feel that was meant, that information was meant to come forward.
Oh, you say
And
you were
it
just going to
definitely-
ask me specifically?
Oh, yeah,
That's very
what your
interesting.
take on that was.
Right.
Yes, so that's what I said. Something was telling me that that information you just gave me was meant for me to hear that. So yes, it definitely resonates, and I appreciate your insight into that. Thank you.
And
You're
I have
very
a question,
welcome.
folks. I have a question
Yes.
based on that same thing, because I think on the collective level, we are all somewhat going through various synchronicities, are we not? I mean, have we
Absolutely.
all started
Absolutely. And this is
noticing?
essentially where Reverend Sharon was speaking from earlier when she was alluding and focusing more on the shifts of timelines. Did I get disconnected?
No,
No.
you're still here.
No, I'm still here.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, the shifts of timelines and these kinds of things. Now, that's what's going on more on a macro level, right? Because, all right, if we really want to go out on a cosmic scale, then we can begin to speak about, the concept of the ages, it's kind of funny, it's, when you hear this kind of conversation, it brings up all kinds of judgmental images in my mind, like hippies and the new age movement, which I'm sure all of us have been, labeled all kinds of different labels throughout. But no, it's so funny, remember that song, The Age of Aquarius and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and The Age of Pisces and all this stuff, and then
The fifth
with the
dimension.
2000, it was the end of the world, and then with the Christian, the Judeo-Christian, belief system, it was Armageddon, but Armageddon is really apocalypse and and all this stuff and all.
Don't forget the rapture.
The rapture and all that stuff. No, but let's think about what's really going on, right? So let's remove the fear and the ignorance and all of that stuff and just really try to break things down to their very scientific quantum physical explanation, right? Now, we do know, and I think everyone has been saying it in many different ways, that we are in the process of a transition.
Mm-hmm.
That is being represented on many different levels in the macrocosm as well as the microcosm, and exactly what Sharon is asking and what Sherry was saying, it's all the same thing, and absolutely we're all going through these types of experiences at different levels, not just on an individual basis, but it's happening on a global level. It's happening, I mean, you can't find a better television to watch than this whole socio-economic dynamic that's going across the world and here in America or in all of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, what we are seeing is we are experiencing the transition from one age to another. The age essentially that we're going into, we can call it many different things, and that's besides the point. But let's just say that what it really represents, it represents an apocalypse. And apocalypse, in terms of the true meaning of the word, is the unveiling of that which has been hidden. Okay, so we've heard that, right? Now we've also heard that we are in we've gone from when we look at it on a global scale or an economic scale, we talk about moving from the industrial age to the information age and these kinds of things. I mean, what the heck is the information age except for a time when information is readily available and accessible to everyone, okay? But this is not just on a economic or corporate or business level. This is permeating through all of the worlds, the world of spirit, the worlds of mind, and the world of the physical manifestation. And every level and every kingdom that exists within each level of those worlds. So that's what we're seeing. We're experiencing it, and what's happening is that that unveiling of that which has been hidden, that removal of the cloak, Okay. That's what's happening to a lot of in a lot of us on an individual basis, where a lot of things that a lot of relationships we had before, all of a sudden are breaking, get explode and go the way of all things.
Mm-hmm.
And these relationships are not necessarily relationships with people outside of ourselves, but they are relationships to constructs and our own demons and all of these things that are within our subconscious and throughout our entire system. Right. So you find that a lot of people going through these major shifts right now and like having these quote unquote awakenings, or having an experience where all of a sudden, I've been helping so many people for so many years, and all of a sudden I feel like I am going through some major crisis as a healer or as a teacher or whatever it is, however it is I express my gifts, towards the surface of the truth manifested in my service and sharing with myself and others. So, yes, what we see happening right now, certainly speaking of a bigger cosmic shift, and we are experiencing it on an individual level. And if we're not aware and conscious of this, then this is where our emotions come into play and if we don't have a really good relationship with our emotions, meaning we understand exactly what they are, why we're feeling these things, what's triggering them, and how these emotions got established within our subconscious to begin with, then we may experience a bit more confusion than if we had this information. When you have this information, then you're able to go back to the root of when that software or whatever it is was programmed, and you deal with it there. I remember in the previous conversation, Sharon was talking about having emotions that it triggered back to some experience back from the 1800s, and she felt that these emotions opened her up and brought that experience back to her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would quite describe it like that, and can only speak from my own experiences. And what I mean by that is that the emotions that you were experiencing that day and the discomfort of those emotions,
Mm-hmm.
the reason that you
Hello.
Hello.
We lost him.
Dang, he was about
Oh,
to go in.
yeah. Okay. Now, hello.
He'll come back on.
I'm sure. I could say something.
See, when it cut us off.
He's coming back. He's coming back.
Oh no. Interference. Sharon.
He was about to touch it, girl.
Interference. Okay. I'm
Something
not
set
going
him
to
off.
pick up from that point because that is definitely something that Vaughn was meant to deliver, which is not a cop-out, people. Not for the ones who know me. What I'd like to do is take it to another level. The continuum. There he is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got disconnected. Yeah. So I was saying that it brings you back, it brings you into the here and now. What these experiences represent for us, it represents for us an opportunity to go or gain a deeper level of self-knowledge, understanding of our emotions and our thoughts and really where they're coming from. And it's important for us to develop this level of self-knowledge, and which leads to a certain level of self-mastery, because the more we become
Self-aware.
aware of our true nature, the more we connect with our primordial, destiny, and the more useful we become. It's very important that we are not working from the constructs of these falsities, because then these things then become the gateways through which you might find yourself getting sort of trapped and finding yourself in somewhat of a spiral condition where you're facing experiences and thoughts and emotions and for some reason they feel debilitating in this experience, and you're thinking to yourself, but I've dealt with this stuff before, or I've done all of this work and I don't understand why is it that I am having this type of relationship with this moment, so if I'm sharing this with you because again, I don't know, if it resonates with you and it helps you understand, what you're experiencing, great. If it doesn't, then, throw it out the window as quickly as it came in, because there is no greater teacher than the teacher that's within us, right?
Right, but I guess we're just taking it a step further. Okay, yeah, you had the experience, okay, and this is what led you to have now this healing. But now, after having this now healing to deal with whatever thought and feeling you had, and you brought this in, or whatever you did, but you had this going on, but it now makes you more self-aware, so that now that you go through the actual healing process, meaning, because, I was stuck on a word when you said eternal, okay, or how you were using it, or in the way in which it was being used. And again, I could have missed something, but anyway, but because of the many lifetimes that we live, are we not somewhat eternal in a sense, because of the various lifetimes and the various experiences that we've lived that has...
Well, to answer your question, yes, but I would say that I would describe it for a different reason. I would say that we are eternal. But my eternal nature is not, I do not realize and experience my eternal nature from the lifetimes that I've lived before. I experience my eternal nature by my knowledge of self in the here and now.
Right. Okay.
And so what do I mean by that? And it's funny because even within the journey of your own spiritual awakening, or your own process of healing towards a process of co-creativity, we go through the process where words take on many different meanings, and the more and more and the more we walk this path, is the more we understand just how important words are, and that we understand the real, true, or original meaning of these words. Because a lot of stuff has gotten corrupted and bastardized and misrepresented, and so even in our process of communicating along the lines of these concepts and ideas, it begs to us that we have to spend a little bit more time, literally researching the meaning of words and these kinds of things. And when you engage in that process, it helps you to understand a lot more around you, because everything is hidden right in plain sight. All of the truth and all of the light is right here in front of us, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just that there are so many different veils that we look through, that we spend the time of removing these veils so that we can eventually be able to see the truth in its raw, true glory. Mm-hmm. So yes, there is that eternal aspect of our being. That's part of us that is divine. That part of us that is timeless. That is that part of us that we're doing gives privilege to. Mm-hmm. That is the part of us that life experience, the things that you do and the decisions that you make and the lessons that you learn, that is a part of our being that really becomes affected by these things.
Mm-hmm. But now, because we each and every one of us has something very specific to bring to the world, like let's look at
our purpose. Each person has got a very important purpose. Absolutely.
So the thing I am saying, so if you don't have these various experiences, like, the various lifetimes where, whatever has happened, or maybe you had a very specific thought or feeling that would have brought that forward, meaning because of our journey and who and what we're supposed to be doing, having these various experiences is what's going to help us teach those that we come in contact with, or who is meant to.
I agree with you.
Yeah?
100%, because these are the experiences that drive us deeper into levels of self-awareness and self-knowledge. And that is the beginning of all things, because it is there where you need to cultivate everything that is healthy, the information, the knowledge, the understanding, and the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And that then translates to everything and everyone outside of ourselves. So, heal thyself. In the process of your own healing
Mm-hmm.
is your process of discovery and you're connecting to the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That becomes experiential,
Mm-hmm.
not intellectual. And then you live with that experience and the knowledge over time. That's where it becomes wisdom. And as that wisdom matures
Mm-hmm.
within us, that's where greater and greater power is afforded to us. And not power in the sense of the ego concept, but power in the sense of service of the truth.
Right, or the Christ consciousness, or the higher,
Right.
consciousness.
Well,
Exactly.
actually, what you're both describing is to those of us who consider Carl Jung to be a great master of the psychological field. He talks about the wounded healer in Greek
Mm.
mythology. His
Chiron
name is
that.
Chiron. You're familiar with? Okay, so the wounded healer, and in essence, we are all wounded healers.
Mm-hmm.
This is the premise that he gives is simply that you cannot heal effectively someone or assist someone effectively to heal unless you've had the experience yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
But this is
yeah,
the
well,
nature. It is the nature of these three dimensionals. These three dimensions. That's why. Look, we could very much remain in a more spiritual, energetic state. But then the experimentations of the mystery and the unfoldment of life, and the dance of the universe, and everything that happens here. It is through this process, it is through the unfoldment of your life experience, of your life journey, of your incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
It is through that motivations and your inspirations come.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if I never have to deal with a broken leg myself, I would never be inspired necessarily to go learn about how to heal or fix a broken leg. I may not even know that there's such a thing that exists as a broken leg. Now, what happens is that I may break my leg. And as a result of that, now I have to face that experience. And that experience brings with it, a lot of information on many different levels and so forth and so on. So there's two ways I could do it. I could go find a doctor, not care about it, pay the guy a bunch of money, tell him, fix it. I don't want to know about it. Just fix it for me and let me be on my way. And I think that that's more of the construct of the society that we've been coming from. That's where, why we've been living in a world with the type of, healthcare or lack of healthcare, or if we want to, refer to our healthcare systems across the planet. Mm-hmm. That are actually very failing and very antiquated and really do not address, the real issues, but are actually more designed to keep you sick and dependent than it is to really get you healthy and strong.
Mm-hmm. So I guess as it pertains to the Laricus group and, meaning how a lot of this information that has been now, as we see everything rising up and coming to the forefront, meaning because it can now no longer be contained. So now,
right, the systems no longer are able to contain the structures that we've built, the systems that we've built. They're no longer. They're at the end of their usefulness. They're at the end of the seasons.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, so
and so what's happening as well too is that we are at a time when a lot of new systems are coming in and people. So it's a time of great innovation and that kind of a stuff. So there's no it's no mistake that we've had like this thing called Silicon Valley, And we've now have this whole new paradigm within the world of business and commerce, and how societies can be built and maintained, and what it means to be successful. And all of these things have shifted, now, in the industrial revolution, in Keynesian economics, there was, it's a concept of scarcity, supply and demand. Now the whole concept is about abundance and exponentiality. In the old way of doing things, it was very linear. Scarcity, supply and demand, zero-sum game. Greed is good. He who dies with the most toys wins. These were the paradigms and the constructs that we were coming out of. The only way to make money is to lie, cheat, and steal. You rape, pillage, and plunder, and that's how you build wealth, and you get what you want out of life, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the truth of the matter is that imagine the liver and the heart going to war. Mm-hmm. And the liver says, you know what? We're living in a world of scarcity. Mm-hmm. So I am going to go to war against the heart. The point of the matter is that in a very short period of time, the body will die. Because these organs are very much connected and interdependent, and they're very much one. But at their level of experience, they see themselves as individual and separate. And if we as human beings were able to level up, if we had the ability to level up, it would really help us to begin to understand ourselves and a lot of things that are around us from a completely different perspective.
So in the grand scheme of things, in this whole, like in the Matrix here, a lot of these experiences, would you say they are being forced on us because of the awakening and the shift?
Yeah, and I don't like to use the word force, because force means that there is some entity with a specific agenda that's pushing. And I like to think of it more as a holistic oneness of everything. And so what it is that it is because of the times. It is because of what is happening in the body at large, why the kidneys or the heart or the liver or the spleen or whatever it is, any smaller aspect of the greater whole, is experiencing what the greater whole is going through. So it's not so much of it being forced on you. It's more along the lines of you just really experiencing more of really truly what and who you really are, and how you really fit in to the universe at large. Or let's not even go out that far, how you even fit into the planet, the physical world, or society, for that matter.
One could always perceive that it all begins with you. We are the mirror to the universe.
Amen.
Okay.
And remember, when you came in, you came in alone, right? When we were born.
Well, now we could spend another 30 minutes on that one alone. In the meantime, my people, while I am captivated as usual by the amount of theories and perceptions to the unknown that we all have a bit of the puzzle to, and we unite in the continuum to put the puzzle together, it is time. It is way past 9:30. It is time for the releasing of the Om, so that those who need to go home can go home, and those who need a libation can have a libation. So
Yep, cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Oh, salud.
Don't rub it in. Don't rub it in.
L'chaim. Salud.
And salud.
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 Okay.
Skol.
Yeah. cold.
All of the above.
Yes.
Let's go get mine.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
there. Uh, oh, now I have to regain my composure. Okay. What I usually do to end the evening. Again, I gave the blessing for all those who were here and those who did not make it. Let's see. Will I do the bells or the bowl this time? And then we will
Bowl.
process
Let's do.
the bowl. Okay. Um, we'll process the Om. In the meantime, thank you all for showing up. Um, Robert, I hope that you are home getting some rest. He has been working so hard with the Vital Life Force Energy, which we will get to discuss on Wednesday evening with the distant healing that we're going to be doing for the Wednesday evening
I
program.
was with him earlier this tonight. He had a 10-hour day today, and I think we parted ways about 7:30 this evening. So it's been a
Mm,
very
I
long
know.
day for him.
I know he started quite early. Um, Sharon, what is
Yes, ma'am.
your uh, agenda or your schedule for this week? Will you be with
Yeah,
us on Wednesday or no?
it's possible that I will be. I just have to double check. I have like an ad running, so I have been receiving a lot of calls. So we'll definitely try to make it on Wednesday. I will be appearing at the Banyan House, which is in Dania Beach, Florida,
Okay.
and I'll be there along with other beautiful souls, and it's a healing psychic fair also. So
Okay.
yeah, so if anyone is in our neck of the woods, it's from 12 to 5,
Okay.
and that's all I have this week. So
Well, that's a good week to have. And
yes,
yeah, and again, this coming Wednesday at 8:30, it is basically going to be a series of assisting in the healing process. So there will be shaman. Melvina promises to be on board for that one. There will be shaman and intuitives, and of course, there is no charge. You know me; I don't charge for those things. Um,
I
but
met
we're
Melvina today, by the way.
you ah
yeah.
oh yeah, she's one of my favorites, and it's going to be every Wednesday. We're going to try for every Wednesday, at least until the end of the year. See what the force, the central force, has in store. At least for me at that point. But we're going to do, and Robert's going to be there. He promises, but I'm not going to hold him to it because I know that he's going to be very busy. But the basis of it is to just discuss, get deeper into the different techniques, tools, etc. And as I mentioned before or earlier in the program, the reason why I talk about tools and write about tools is that eventually, as a species, humanity, uh, my personal opinion, but that is that we are at that level of growth. I think we're finally in the young adult stage where we're finally opening our eyes. And so tools are just something that eventually we will not need at all. But like a baby, when it starts to walk, we climb up on to things, we hold onto a chair, a table until we get the gist of how this walking thing works out. And then we begin to run. And so when we begin to run, we will no longer need the tools. Again, my personal opinion. So, uh, Vaughn, did you have something else to contribute before we leave?
Um, no, I don't.
Okay. Cherry, are you good?
I'm
Cherry,
good.
you're good. Fantastic. Oh, and don't worry, we will get to Sarasota at the same time. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
for
This
sure.
is yes. This is the blessing. And why is the bowl not working? I don't know. 1 second. It's because I don't have it positioned properly. But we are going to do the Om sound. Om. Om. And thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
We are one. I am. We are one. Namaste. God bless. Om Shanti Shanti. And I love you guys.
Love you too. Love you guys.
And good
Love you
night.
too.
Everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh,
Salud, l'chaim.
He's still rubbing it in. Okay.